Well, welcome to sunny Barcelona. Just had breakfast. Now we're going to find our transport and get into the town. Well, here we are in the centre of Barcelona, with all its normal city life, really. But we're going to have a look at the architecture. Well, here I am in the main railway station at Barcelona, having a look around the city. I like the old quarter better than the more modern, but one or two paintings will be along very shortly, I presume. Well, here we go. This is basically the composition. Going to use 3 brushes, one large mop, one medium, and a very small brush just for fine details. So that's all I'm going to use for this subject. Lovely subject. Part of one of the streets in Barcelona. So right, let me get some colour down. I'll put the drawing down onto the paper just to save time, and I'm going to just sort of bring this to life with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red. So I want the warmth of the day to shine through, light coming from the left. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go onto dry paper, shooting some colour across the paper like that. Mainly cadmium red, and hopefully those brush strokes will show the direction of light towards the end. See the way I'm leaving streaks unpainted, and I'm getting stronger as I come down into the foreground. And that is all I'm going to do for the very first washes. Well, I wasn't going to use the lamp today, but as you can see, bottom left hand corner, due to the strong sunlight coming in, and I've had to have the door open because it's so hot in here, which gives me a flavour of the temperature that you would get out in Barcelona. So that's all good. Now, anyway, that's that. Now I'm going to put in the red, and I'm tending to use Payne's grey mainly because I've got so much Payne's grey that I just feel I ought to use it, really. Not a great lover of it, but there you go. If you've got lots of that particular colour, then why waste it? Let's use it. And I'm going to paint in, just getting my mill stick, because I need that, or I may need that. I'm going to paint in the windows up on the first floor, and I'm going to paint these in very, very simply. See the way I'm pulling down and across and down? So you've got a bit across, down and down, and that one is just down. Now these are similarly treated. Now this is slightly different because it's slightly open. That one isn't, that one isn't, that one isn't, nor is that, nor is that. And we have some windows inside here. So we have an arch to that one, and that goes down there like that. Then we have across there, down there, down there, and down there. This one is slightly arched the other way. In actual fact, that comes up to there. Not very observant am I at the moment. Oh well, such is life. And then we go across there and this comes down. So this one's the same. I'm going to paint over the tree because I'm going to make the tree dark. Across the top, down, 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 to there, across, down. And where's this one? I'll cross there, down like that. It's a good thing about a large brush. It does see through most of the painting of these large areas. Look at that. Join those up just so as we don't see gap down the middle. And that is the windows basically put in. Now I've moved to a smaller brush to paint in the first floor, and I'm using a green that is ready-made, which is pretty unusual for me, but there you go. That's the underside of the overhang for that part of the building. It actually goes down a little bit further there to there. There we go. And it does have sort of a slope. There you go. And that is of a different sort of feel. And I'm then using a very light wash just to put a bead on the top, because that is lighter at the top. You know, it's really very much about shadow and not as much about the actual colour, this one. So it's, you know, it's tones really. There is some colour, but it's mainly tone. Now I've moved down to paint the lovely motorbikes, and it's something that I decided that I would put in purely because they just give a little bit of interest. May even put a figure or two inside shortly. But these are there again, Payne's grey. These are very dark. I'm putting they're pretty much black and cream really. So I'm putting a red in with that again. So Payne's grey with a little bit of that red in. Now this is where I need the mule stick to go in. So we've got a twist grip there and there. We have a underpiece there like that, and that goes down there. We have a mud guard plus the tyre. Bit of a curve to that. See the back edge too, just on the edge of the pavement that is. Then the engine affair or underside, something that we've got there, if I can remember rightly. And then we've just got a dark piece underneath. Now this is a bit lighter because that is the seating area there. This is a chrome area, so that's lighter. Well, not chrome, but it's a lighter area like that. And on the back, oh, that's dark, that's good. So that's the start of that then. We're just going to put in the handlebars. There is a bit of a motif that lays in there. Handlebars and brakes. There we go. So that's useful. Now there is a box at the back that we can just about see. Like that, and that could very well be seen that side as well. Not sure about that, but that's what we're doing. Good. Let's go now a tone darker with these colours and a bit more red, because I want to show up the real dark areas, which is there, there, not the top of the mudguard, but the neck, the bit at the base there, and there is quite a dark area under the lamp there, because that lamp is vital that we keep that light, and there is an area there, and this is dark down the back edge. There we go. Look at that. That's of vital importance. Now with this dark colour we go again and with a similar process for this one, where we pick up the underside there, a little bit of added detail but nothing too fussy, and of course the mudguard comes out, then this wheel holds just a little bit of interest with the forks that come down. That's it. All right, then we have the twist grip again, twist grip again with that. That's good. What else have we got? Yeah, similar sort of motorbike, I would say, because it does look extremely similar. So this is all the fiddly little bits that sometimes are not the most interesting things to paint, but by being dark there, I'm going to pick up the light of the top of the handlebars plus the lamp. There we are for the box on the back. Now all I do is clean it off and just add some lighter touches really around the lamp, the front of that would be lighter, that area of the foot area, and of course the saddle area, spokes, and a little bit of area at the front there. There you go. So that is all we need to do apart from the lamp. Now I'm giving it some yellow because it's not night, but I just feel they look right if they're in yellow, and that to me is the start of the small little motorbikes that you see a lot around Barcelona. Now I'm going in very heavy with a damp brush mixed with plenty of Payne's grey and red. It's only a damp brush, it's not a wet brush, and I'm putting plenty of red in there because what I want to do is to show up some real strong colour in here, like that. Because that will make all the difference to the field of light that's on them windows internally. See how that's shaping that? Not going to do that one, and all will be revealed on that shortly, because there's no need at this stage, and because I'm on a half dry brush, getting a lovely jagged edge as I lift off. See the way that's creating those window areas. And then going in with a little more red this time to create across the top and down there, across the top and down. Not doing that one. Okay. Now I am doing up top, but I'm putting a different red in, putting a little more the cad red instead of the alizarin red, I'm putting some cad red in. The reason for that, I want to show just a little bit of added warmth. They're not going to be light, still going to be dark. Like that. And that is another, and what I'm going to do, I'll put some bit more in that bottom area there, not too much, just to show a little bit of that. There you go. And see the way I've developed those windows. Now what I'm going to do with this, I'm using the red, a bit more red in the mix, but I'm painting around the trunk area on that. Just want to preserve that. But other than that, that's the window's second treatment. We do have a curbstone here, and that's going in with a fairly simple treatment in its sections. So I'm trying to give it the feeling that there are sections there. So that's the curbstone going in. Right, now we're looking at a little bit more of the details. The thing is that it's really a lot about shadow. But let's see final details. And for this area of balcony work, I'm going to use Payne's Grey with the cadmium red. Now the main area of balcony, right, so we've got a balcony that runs right the way through on this. So I'm going to put in, now they are lighter against the darker windows, but I'm reversing that, and I'm putting in the top part of the balcony first. Railings, these are balcony railings. Then I'm going to put in the uprights, just a few to start, because they are the main uprights of the balcony. Then I'm going to put in a bit more of the cross sections, because there is another one there. Then I'm going to paint in a suggestion, and as you can see, it is a suggestion of railings that have a bit of ornate texture to them. And I'm not going to paint in all of the details. I'm just painting in the small edges. Then I'm going to put in a lot of the smaller pieces, not counting them. They really do not need counting, because if somebody comes along and says you haven't put enough in and you're a couple out or whatever, that is of no interest for me at all. All I'm doing is painting the fend of light on this lovely, in these buildings of this lovely Barcelona street. So that's all I'm doing, nothing any more than that. Just going to do the balconies up on the second floor. Now I'm going to put a figure in here. I've left this space purely for a figure, and I'll put the head in to start. There, not too strong. Then the figure is going to be of a sort of a greeny reddy tone, and I'm going to have to use my wheel stick. I don't want to get my hands on the paper. And what it is, he's walking, and it is a chap walking at that sort of angle like that, and at the back, if you hunch the back, it gives them a sense as moving forward. And I'm just putting some red in there as well and blending that while I'm painting, because I just feel that the red is a nice colour to have. And then putting in a bit of blue to that, because this figure must have a bit of movement in the legs, because without that we don't really have movement, basically, like that. And that figure will be standing where there may be a bit of shadow coming over, and the figure has a cap on. There you go, look at that. He has a cap on. Good, so that's that figure put in. Now I'm going to paint in the main shadows first, and for that I'm going to use a blue, not sure what blue, oh that's Prussian blue, and I'm going to use a red, and I'm going to use that red. There you go. And it's got to remain blue. I've put a warm tone on, now I'm putting a cool tone on. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the underside here first, like that, and this will be predominantly in shadow, like that, apart from some edges that have a light on them. Painting over the tree again, picking around like that, trying to keep that nice and freely painted. Whoop, there, don't go too far down with that. That one goes up there. Right, now I'm going to use some of this to paint across some areas like that, because this is where the shadows are crossing the pillar work. Now I'm going to go lighter with this now. That's it. Perfect. Now I'm going to put in some overhang shadows, a bit more red now, overhang shadows from the balconies that will lay down like that and elongate across there. So that's that, elongate across there and the back edge of that. And once you get these in, it will make a big difference to the complete feel of the picture. You'll begin to get the feeling of sunlight. This is not the main shadow work, there's lots of other shadow work coming in, but initially this is the initial shadow work. Good. Right, now I'm going to go in with a little more red now. I'm going to put some more red into my shadows now, because I'm looking for shadow work that is, let me just see where this runs. Oh right, under there, down there, under there, down there. That's it. Down the inside of that window there and across the top inside there and inside there. Inside there across the top. A bit more blue. Better. And I'm making these look as if they're slightly recessed, which is always a good thing to do. There you go. That's good. Yep. Now, a bit more red, too much red, and now I'm going to paint in the insides of these, leaving a little bit of the outside unpainted, like that. And that is the inside of those windows there, like that. There we go. And I'm now painting in a bit of red just here and there to balance up, to make it look as if the light is sort of as a secondary sort of light just coming into those areas, because that's what's happening really. And that is a warmer light. And then I'm going to streak that across there, because the light will be coming across there in a more red, warm fashion. So this is from trees, out of picture, not everywhere, just here and there, because I'm wanting to show this film of light that's casting across these areas. See the way I'm putting a bit of red into that area too. Look at the way that gives that lovely sort of subtle light feel. Then more of the same, a bit more blue perhaps in that. It's all about shadows. If you get the shadows right, then you're on to a winner. If you don't, well, it's a learning curve, that's all I can say. Right, that's the shadow inside there and there. Then we use the point of the brush then to pick up the dappled shadow and under the figure with a little more blue in there. How can we do that? There you go. Because this is the dappled shadow from underneath there, and away that. And that's the dappled shadow there from the tree that will go in shortly. And of course that has more shadow on that area there, and then the shadow comes across this foreground from that tree, and it's not justified yet because we can't see the tree yet, but basically that is that stage of the painting. Now what I'm doing here, I'm just darkening the windows themselves. As you can see, by doing that they really ping, and I'm going to darken inside there too, but not too much. Perhaps that is too much. Let's lift that away. Not sure that that quite requires that. We'll have to have a think. Jury's out on that one. Anyway, let's just finish off the rest of these here. If you notice, I'm not doing near the balconies because that is not well, I'm not doing it actually. You know, that's not the whole point of this exercise. The whole point is to get the eye to work around. Right, what I am going to do with this shadow, with this additional shadow, is to go inside there, down, blend that through. Let's just blend that side. That's it. That's perfect. Yeah. Now all I've got to do now is just blend that through, blend that through, blend that through. While it's still damp, you can do this blending of the colours, and it does make all the difference in the end. Good. Now we've just got some finishing touches. Now I'm using some red just to finish where those pillars meet the ground. There, put them in there, a little bit along the base perhaps, and of course they're casting shadows, and I'll put more red in this. Because I think it needed it, and there's a bit more, there's a bit there, bit there, bit there. Notice it's suggestion. I'm not painting every single area in. Go. Just suggest areas. Look at that. Anywhere that you think will be in shadow, paint it in this shadow. Which I think does the trick. And then the figure is going to be partly in shadow and partly out of shadow, like that. That figure is going to cast a secondary shadow like that. This is going to cast a bit of a stronger shadow. Look at that. Now that, to me, brings that complete picture to life. Perfect. Now I can see now that I need to go darker with the inside of those windows. So that's that there. I didn't want to put that in too early because that could have caused a lot of problem. But now I can see it, and I can see exactly where I am. I'm painting that in and allowing, see where the light of that is coming through now, because it was lighter right from the start. And this is the beauty of watercolour painting. It's the wet into wet, the wet onto dry, that will give that final result. And I'm leaving that unpainted at the moment, that tree, because that will go in shortly. Let's just get these windows in first. These are the windows inside, under the arch. And that now will determine everything. That will give the whole thing light and life. And all of a sudden start to show up other areas. There, there, there. Do that in a sec. Go, you can see where they stand on the ground now. Washes of colour. Perfect. Now we just use this same mix to put in those finishing shadows onto the pavement. Now that would go over there like that, around there, and that would be in shadow there, and this completely gives the bike's a bit of light. Just entering some of that up into there so that we can see that the reason why they're in shadow is because we have shadow areas on the ground. these bikes are going to be pretty much in the shadow. Which I like, because I think that will be the ideal thing bit of light here, the foreground. Let's not completely eliminate that. There you go. Bit here, additional light, shadow, additional shadow there, 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 there. Brilliant. Let's allow that to dry. Maybe one or two little finishes, but not too much, before the tree goes in. Now I've taken the surround away, and I'm going to sign it in the bottom right hand corner in my signature as I do today. A bit more stylised than it used to be. And there you have it. Well, there's the finished painting. It's come off particularly well. I have adjusted it in certain ways. I've used some touches of white here and there, created a little bit more interest to certain areas with the use of colour, but overall I think it's come off particularly well. And so that's a part or a street in Barcelona that I visited a few weeks ago while I was touring the Mediterranean. So there you have it. If you enjoyed watching, please tune into my YouTube channel, subscribe, and you'll get notifications when I upload more videos. Thank you very much for watching.